when you pick up a Fighterverse package, you'll get two things. One is the Fighterverse and the other is the handbook. The handbook has a lot of really neat tips and ideas in it, as well as it explains how to set up your binder, which is what I'm about to explain. So you have 5 sections. Each section is 1 year. So start at the top, go right through it. We'll be starting with set A, which is at the top. You have a plastic pocket in the back. This is to, in case you want to take out an individual card and carry it around. This will keep it protected. Then at the very back of the binder, you will have 3 tabs. Review verses, new verses, and freeze. So to set up the binder, you need to take those out, and they all come to the front. So, the first page is kind of like a cover page, Ephesians 6:10-12, which is about the armor of God and the idea that the verses that we are learning is the armor of God, and that's where the symbol of the knight comes from. Then, right after that is where you'll put your review verses little tab. Immediately after review verses, you'll put new verses. Then you have a third tab that is called freeze. Freezing is when we stop after 25 verses in order to review those 25 verses before moving on. How do you know where to put the freeze tab? Great question. If you look on your individual verses, each verse has a number in the corner. That number is the number of verses per card. When we say fighter verses, each one of these verses is each one of these cards is actually a passage of verses, not necessarily just one verse. So each verse that we'll be memorizing, each fighter verse, could be up to 3 or 4 verses. So when we freeze after 25 verses, not 25 passages. So in order to tell when to freeze, you can either go through your cards and add up all these little numbers until you get to 25, or you can follow this little chart that is already made up and pre-counted. So you can pick up one of these at the information kiosk if you'd like. So fighter versus set A, what we'll be starting with. So this tells me that my first freeze tab goes around James 1 verses 2 to 3. So I'll find that in my book. James 1 verses 2 or 3. Put my freeze tab in. Here's James 1, 2 to 3. Freeze tab here. So, oh, can't do this. So here I go. Start memorizing one verse. As soon as I memorize it, Deuteronomy 7:9, memorize Deuteronomy 10:12 to 13. Take out the card. While I'm at it, I'm going to take out this fighter verse title page card as well. Move it from new verses to review verses. Simple enough. Each week, I'll either flip a card. So next week is Romans 11:34 to 36. Next week is Romans 12:1 to 2. Once I've finished this card, Romans 12:1 to 2, take that one out, move it to new verses. Eventually you'll get to my freeze tab, move these cards up. They will all be moved up to review verses by that time. When I reach a freeze tab, have someone quiz you on these verses. So someone can choose any 5 passages, ask you what they are. If you pass the test, then you're done. You're done with those 25 verses. If, however, you have a hard time with that, then go back over them. Review a couple of them over the next couple of days. Review all the verses in here before moving on. Once you finish one freeze section, put a paper clip on the last card to mark out that that's the last section. You don't need to be quizzed on that again. If you need a paper clip, come find me. I've got lots on my desk here. Paper clips, freeze tab. Okay, so I finished those and I go back. My freeze tab is on top. Find the next section to next end of the freeze section, or the end of the next freeze section, I guess. Psalm 86, 5 to 7. Psalm 86, 5 to 7. I'll put it here. It doesn't have to be exactly 25 verses, approximately. So I memorized these verses. They all move up to review verses. And then, because this handy paper clip is here, I know that the beginning of my review section is right after the paper clip, and the end of my review section is beginning with the new verses. So there you have it. Have fun!